Hi, and welcome to something a little bit different. This is Tales Improvised about the table. This is instead of a typical episode where we pick a theme and we really nail down our thoughts and what we want to talk about with this theme and with this topic, we're doing something a little bit more traditional and completely winging it.
Yup, we have no idea what topics we're going to talk about. We have no idea what questions we're going to ask. Every response that we have is completely genuine. So if you felt like our other episodes were too scripted, which you shouldn't, they're not they're not scripted, they're not polished. But if you feel that way, this is an episode for you.
We typically spend about a half hour to an hour beforehand talking and kind of just making sure we have something good to say. And we're not doing this time, so we may not have anything good to say. But I hope you enjoy it either way.
This is going to become a somewhat regular thing here on our channel because it's a regular part of TTRPGs. Things go wrong and you have to improvise. So we figured we should probably do that when we're talking about TTRPGs as well. So hopefully you enjoy this and we'll see you on the flip.
Yeah, good luck.
Have fun.
See ya. Welcome to Tales About the Table, where we explore the stories, challenges, and creative chaos of TTRPGs. But mostly D&D. I'm Elijah.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Josiah. Together, we discuss the art of DMing, character building, and making unforgettable moments at the table.
Each episode, we break down a different aspect of tabletop gaming, sharing our experiences, lessons learned, and maybe a few funny failures along the way. Whether you're a seasoned DM or you're just rolling your first set of dice, there's always more to learn about collaborative storytelling.
Sometimes we talk about how to play TTRPGs, the rules, the setup, and everything in between.
Sometimes we talk about how to be better people and communicators, and therefore, better players.
And sometimes we talk about our own misadventures and the lessons that we've learned from the worlds we've created.
But most importantly, we love telling great stories together.
So pull up a chair and join us as we share another of our many tales about the table. All right, actually, before we jump in, welcome to Tales About the Table. This is fully winging it. We do not know what we're going to talk about. We do not know what the plan is. We're going to try this and see how it goes. Welcome to Tales About the Table. Josiah, take it away.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to talk about. We have so many things to talk about. I think the number one thing, and I'm literally pulling this out, the number one thing that we continue to repeat, and the thing that we could probably talk about for hours and reiterate 100 times, is communicate with your table, communicate with your players. I think communication is so key. One of the most important things about being a DM, being a good player, trying to make D&D function and work is to communicate what you're feeling, what you want to say, how you your expectations for the table, when you are not feeling comfortable, when you want to talk about something else, when you want your player to do all of it, the whole gambit. You cannot over communicate. Yeah.
Real quick, I want to hop in here because I have an interesting question as you were ranting about communication. I think that we have found our best success as we've become closer friends, partly because we communicate better. I am curious if we want to go all the way back to when we were playing with people we didn't know as well. Obviously, you don't communicate as well. What is some advice that we might have, though, for those tables where you don't know people as well? And I know Elijah has, I think, done more than any of us with playing with random tables. I've done a little bit with playing with random tables, but it's often people that I've kind of gotten to know well recently. So I don't know. I am curious to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, I want to jump into because I think that there is a place also where, yes, it's super important to communicate, but a lot of that communication tends to happen early in a campaign, and it gets really, really hard to then have that communication 18, 19 sessions in. Or, I've been playing this character for a while. I'm kind of over it, but everyone else is having a ton of fun, and so I don't know how to have that conversation. And I think that is where a lot of the struggle comes, and a lot of the difficulty in, hey, how do I, as a player, start a conversation, especially with someone that I don't know? Um, as someone that really, like, for me, I'm not afraid of confrontation. I'm like, hey, let's just say what we think and be honest about it. But I know that is not the case for a lot of people. And so, a couple things that I think are really important is, like, you have to have places where you purposefully talk to a player one-on-one. When I was in college, I found
Mm.
really great places to do that by, hey, does anyone need a ride back to their dorm? Can I walk anyone back to their dorm? And I would get personal one-on-one feedback about where they were with the campaign, how they felt about things, how they felt about their character, how they felt about the story, how they felt I was doing as a DM, because feedback is also important. And so I think that when we jump into this conversation of communication, it is important to be able to sit at your table and say, hey, we want to play a safe game that everyone can enjoy and everyone can, get the good experience of D&D out of. But also it's really important to step aside and also have those one-to-one conversations, because not everyone is ready to speak up at the table and say, actually, I'm not having a good time. Especially when you look around and everyone else is.
Yeah. I think to jump off of what Elijah is saying and jump back to your conversation or to your question, Jack.
Mhm.
I think when you are not super close to all of your players, some of those conversations can feel a little awkward to try to breach. You're trying to force a conversation. That can be a little awkward. I
Mhm.
think it's actually a lot easier than we think it is. A simple text of like, "Hey, what have you been thinking about this campaign? Or what have you thought about where your character's at? Or like, what did you think of tonight's session? Or like,
Mm.
hey, how are you enjoying?" Like any of those questions are like a text you can send, and it's super simple,
Yeah.
and you will probably get a decent response, even if
Mhm.
it's not very long. And often, if the response uh, is a genuine response more than just like it's good. If they give you any details or they express any problems or anything that are like, "Oh yeah, it's fine. I kind of wish my character was more involved, or I don't really feel like I know what I'm doing." Really easily and intentionally, you should try to follow up with that. Be like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to talk about where we could kind of take your character. Would you be willing to could we call and talk about that?"
Mhm.
Because it's hard to find time with players. I understand. You might not have like a space where you can get time with them. But a
Mhm.
but a phone call of like, "Hey, okay, so let's talk players," or let's figuring
Yeah.
out some of those things. Just like Elijah said, like creating space to have those conversations, I think is super important. And I think you can do with anybody.
Do I do want to say, like, that plan gives me a little bit of anxiety. I am not socially anxious in person.
Mm.
Over text really gets to me because I'm so much less in control of responses and so much less in control of understanding communication. Like, there's this place where it's like, I don't know if your thumbs up means you're having a good time, or you feel awkward about talking to me, or you don't want me to text you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is like, yeah, this is fantastic. Thanks so much. I'm really enjoying it. Or, yeah, no, it's fine. Thanks, man. Or, oh,
Mm.
this is kind of weird that you're texting me. Please stop. Like,
Sure.
there is this place where, like, I know for me personally, and I bring this up not because I think that was bad advice. I think that was good advice, but because we're different, and I want to acknowledge
Sure.
that. And there's gonna me, Elijah, and Josiah do not represent the spectrum that all people fall in.
Yeah.
We are a small subset of that, obviously. And so there is this place where it's like, hey, like, for those of you with social anxiety, which I would not put myself in that camp, but I do know that, like, I won't reply to texts because they make me anxious. I will just leave text there for a very long time because I don't like that I don't feel in control of that conversation. I would much rather wait until I can talk to you in person. Which,
That's
if
very
that gives you
interesting. I
insight
feel
into
the
me,
I feel the opposite. I'm like, oh man, personal conversation is hard. Like I struggle to walk up and talk to somebody. I can
Mhm.
text anybody. I like
Hmm.
because I'm there. It's distant. I can think about what I'm going to say, and I will never make a mistake in what I'm in my like. I'm never gonna trip over my words.
Mm. Yeah,
I can read over what I'm gonna say 4 times and make sure that I'm not miscommunicating anything. So to me, a text feels way safer. So that's very interesting that we have
it
opposite
is.
feelings on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So I guess with what I'm saying there is like, yeah, encouraging people to communicate is good, but like there is this aspect where it's like, yeah, like there are going to be places you feel somewhat anxious about this. And the other thing I wanted to say is like D&D is this weird game where the DM somehow bears all the responsibility of the friend group, because like whether you know these people or not, you are kind of like forming a friend group a little bit, and like, oh, we're all going to hang out and play this weird, somewhat intimate, somewhat, board game-ish game together because we're all interested in it. And and then suddenly the DM is like in charge, and they're responsible for scheduling, they're responsible for, all this other stuff. And it kind of naturally happens because like the role that they're playing at the table, they are in
Mm,
charge in every session. They decide what happens and what doesn't. And like, so there is this place, but like that can be really hard. Like, especially to be like, oh, it's your job to make sure good communication is happening. It's like that's a two-way street, like
yeah.
that's not just your job. And if it's failing, that's not just your failure. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like
Right.
that's important coming
No,
into that
that's
conversation.
extremely valid. Like I, as someone who has DM'd a lot of different groups and met a lot of fantastic groups, I have felt the weight of, hey, I am the glue. If I don't send out a text on, Monday morning, we don't play D&D Monday night. And that is a really hard, scary thing to feel. And it's like, especially I remember in college, a lot of times I felt like if I didn't text someone, then we didn't play D&D, but then it also was my fault. Which is never fun, right? Nobody wants that. So, the what I will say, like to a lot of this is especially for new DMs. You feel like you have the responsibility of the world on your shoulders as a new DM. At least I did. I was like, okay, I have to like it has to be perfect, and everyone's gonna like if not everyone is having a fun time the whole time, then I'm not doing a good job. And there is this like real anxiety that kind of builds in the game, and it kind of bleeds out into like, and then you're like, so did everyone have a good session? And you kind of like recoil back to like
Mhm.
for
You
feedback.
feel deeply insecure often after a
Exactly.
session.
No.
You are like, did did everyone have fun? Do you still
Yeah.
think I'm
Mm,
cool?
Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
even hearing
still.
a lot of times oh yeah, this was so great. It's like, okay, I survived this week. I have to do this again. And so like I I think that if I could go back, I would have a conversation that first week and just be like, "Hey, I've never done this before. So if this doesn't go well, like please just have a little bit of grace for me. Please like be patient with me as I try to navigate this. And also, like I'm willing to take some feedback, but understand like I feel a lot of stress under this." And I think that's a really important thing to feel comfortable doing. And also, like, please let your DM say that and don't be like, "Oh, that's gross." Because
Mhm.
as a player, I didn't,
Yeah.
when I was much younger and hadn't played as much D&D, I was like, D&D is pretty like difficult as a player. Like there's a lot of mechanics that you have to know, and you have to let other people shine at certain points, and like you only get your moment every now and again, and like you want to take action, but you don't want to steal the limelight. Like that's a lot. And then you get on the other side of the table and you're like, oh, I'm the one that has to point the light at each individual player and make sure that no one is stealing the light for too long. And I have to know the mechanics to teach a player if they're not there. And
Yeah.
it changes. And so, as weird as this is to say, I would say D&D is not an easy, fun, let's just pick up and play game a lot of times. It can be. And there are people that get to
And I
do
think
that, but I think that
different
comes from
formats.
experience.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think different form, like Josiah truly could run a one shot for us right now, and I think have a good time and not feel a lot of stress about it
Yeah,
because it's one shot and he's
sure.
gonna let it roll off his back. Me and you, if we were to run a one shot, like there also is this place, like I feel like as you get, you judge yourself in different ways,
Mm.
and like that's somewhat individually tied. And there's this place where it's like when I go in, my biggest judgment is like how smooth did my game run and how much did everybody seem to enjoy it and did they think I was cool, which is dumb. Like I wish that wasn't like, but like that's often my like questions that are rattling around my brain was like, was I smooth, was there any hiccups, was there any like, oh, we got to really pause and wait because I got to get my feet under me as a DM, you know, like I really want it to be punchy and go to the next scene and there not to be, you know, this super long wait. And you know, did I make a fool out of myself? Does everyone like, did I have egg on my face the entire time? um you know, and I feel a lot of that insecurity, and there's often, I've heard of this too for many other dungeon masters, this is kind of social come down afterwards where it's like, I want to go be alone for a little while. I'm gonna go like have a second for myself, or
Yeah.
I'm gonna go find the person that I am closest to in the game and just be like, hey, I did a good job, right? Like please praise me.
Yeah.
And this is pretty normal, and I want to normalize talking about this a little bit. And
Yeah.
whether we post this episode or don't, I know we're kind of experimenting a little bit, but like
I don't know why we wouldn't.
I think there's a place where like vulnerability is often, you know, other people's stories help us grow, and yet those stories are really personal to share, and that vulnerability can be really difficult at times, but you know, especially to put that out online or wherever. But I think that's really important for us to hear those stories so that we can realize, hey, we're not really abnormal or weird or, you know, should be looked down upon. And it allows us to give ourselves grace and to be patient with ourselves as DMs. And like, you're going to hear this all the time of like, you're new, it's going to take you time, don't judge yourself too harshly, stuff like that. But it's really true. Like, you're going to have to internalize that at some point or stop DMing. You're going to have to realize at some point that this is for you to have fun and for your friends to have fun. And it is really fun to make a polished game that you feel good about what you did. But also, like, there's a certain point where you have to let that go and be okay with who you are and how you're doing it.
I think there also is like there's also a real turning point where sometimes I've seen a lot of DMs have this great moment where it's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do this, and they kind of just get to a point where it's like, I can't do everything that I set out to do. And my favorite experience of this was one of the first D&D games I played in college. The DM literally took all of his notes, dropped them in the garbage can, sat back down at the table, and said, sorry, just needed to do that, and then finished the conversation in character, but very much was like, look, this did not go the way that I thought it was going, and we're just going to keep playing D&D. And it was awesome because we realized, like, oh yeah, you put a lot of work into this campaign, and we kind of just completely dug ourselves out of that. And I'm sorry. But also, this was it turned into a fantastic campaign that we just had a blast with. And it is so awesome to see DMs kind of turn that corner and be like, look, we're playing D&D and I'm not going to fight that this didn't work out. I'm not going to stress that it's like, I'm a DM. I can handle this. let me throw all of this away, and then
there's
we'll
like a
just jump right back in.
self-assuredness
Yeah.
that kind of begins, confidence that begins to come.
That's
And the
wild.
world felt so real after
Yeah.
that.
I would have felt so, that feels so passive aggressive.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
would have been at that table and been like, oh, okay.
Like,
Jeez. Do you want to start over?
Yes, I did. No.
That's crazy.
yeah. I do think there's a place though where like the symbolism in that wasn't for the table as much, it sounds like it was for him. It was him saying, I'm letting go. And I think that there, like you may hear us talk about, this in the future, and I think we've talked about it a little before, but like oddly enough, one of the most helpful skills in playing and running D&D is humility. Like that idea of like, I don't have to be in control. I don't have to make it perfect or exactly what I want or something like that. I can roll with the punches. I can do what they want. I can follow their story. It doesn't have to be about my story, my setting, my thing. It can be about the players. And knowing when to push back too. You can set boundaries. You should. You're a player too. You deserve to have fun. But also this place to be like, hey, like I can let go of this. I can make this about their fun. And in doing that, I can now have fun. I release myself from those expectations. I release myself from all of my notes and my planning and my stressing. And I say, I'm here to have fun with you guys. And so I'm going to do that. And I think that can be a really healthy posture to play this game with. Yeah.
Nice.
On both sides. Like that is not, humility is not like a, hey, be humble DMs. That is from a player standpoint too. Like 100%. And I think almost everything that we're saying, like fully applies to players as well. Like understand that the DM is the one that has to do so much of the communication in order to make this game run. Communicate with them, like, and communicate with the other players. There's a lot of opportunity. I see it all the time that you might be close with the DM and you have two other players that are with you at the table and they're your friends, but they like know the DM maybe a little, but they're really your friends. You have the opportunity to communicate with the other players at that table and create space for good communication between the table as a whole with your DM. You are able to buffer a little bit in that scenario. Maybe you are that friend of the person who's close with the DM. You might be uncomfortable talking to the DM. You might not know how to do that well, and there's sort of a weird interaction there. Talk to your friend about it. Open up that conversation. Make that connection. Have that as a group conversation with the table. Like there are a lot of opportunities to open up conversation, to create this thing together, to play together. If you think about playing like a video game together and you're like on like a 4-player split screen, or you're like playing World of Warcraft together, or you're playing Baldur's Gate, the game is real hard if you're not communicating with the other players what you guys are trying to do as a group. Like you have to communicate. Like it will be a very difficult time of trying to get what you want out of the game experience if you're not working together. And so that humility of saying like, hey, I'm also here to help them have a good game. I'm here like as a part of this group. And I know that in some ways, like I think the reason why being a DM can be really stressful and you might even need a social come down is because in a lot of ways, DMing is a little bit of a performance. You are running a show. You are conducting an orchestra. You are playing 6 different characters. You are improvising on the fly. You are all of these things, and you are orchestrating a show, and you are directing this whole thing. And so for you to, as a player, if you engage with them and like create spaces where it's easier for them to do that and communicate, like when I think about this, I could talk about so many things, but like when you are in a relationship, you have to be affirming to the other person in order to maintain that relationship. And I think DM player is a relationship. Like,
Yeah.
you should both be affirming each other and helping each other understand, hey, that was a really good job. I really liked the way that you played that character. Hey, I really liked that town that you made. That was really fun. And from the DM to the like, hey, I thought you made a really good decision. You guys did great with that puzzle. I love the way that you guys joked about this, or like that was super clever how you outsmarted the guy. Like, saying those things can be super helpful in boosting the confidence of your players and of your DM. Have those conversations, make
For
those,
sure.
because that's super beneficial.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn there. And it's great.
I want to touch on, because I think I can boil down some of what we're saying a little bit,
Mhm.
specifically to talking about expectations. And I
Mhm.
think that there's this place where, like, you brought up the video game analogy, and all I could think of is, like, one person really wants to, like, we played Baldur's Gate 3 a while back, and it went really poorly because I'm not going to cuss. I was not being nice. I was a donkey of sorts. And I was like sprinting through the beginning of the game because I'm like, all right, I've already played it through this. And, Josiah's over there like, I haven't played through this much. I'm trying to explore. And I'm like, I'm over here killing this boss. And like, it just was like, oh man, I had very different expectations of like, oh yeah, we'll kind of get through the beginning of the game because like I want to get to other stuff with you guys and stuff like that. And it wasn't wrong of me to want that, but it was
Mhm.
very mean of me to not communicate that. And I think there is this place where, like,
Sure.
when you are in this group, part of your responsibility as a player is to communicate your expectations and desires and be willing to shape them with the rest of the group. And, like, there is this place where it's like, if you don't know what you want out of this, please take 15 minutes outside of the game to try and figure out what you want out of this so that you can talk about it. Like, have some personal reflection on yourself and say, man, why am I here? What do I want out of this? And like, so that you can talk to your DM and say, hey, I think I want this. And he goes, man, that makes me feel really good. I have something that I can give you now.
Yeah.
You figured out what you wanted. This is going to be a poll out of left field, but I think, hot take, people need to make better Christmas lists, because the giving of the gift is almost not as important as the person coming up with a good gift to be gotten for them. It makes other people special when you know something to get them. And it's not just like, well, just give me money, just give me money. I'll buy what I want to buy. And they're like, no, they want to know you. They
Mhm.
want to know what you enjoy and get you something fun and special. That's why this is a gift. That's what it's them being a part of your life and entering into your interests. And you're like, well, I just want money. And it's like, I think there's a similar thing happening in D&D at times where it's like, well, I just want to play I just want to play the game and do this or that. And it's like, no, like, be specific, figure out what you enjoy and give that list to your DM and say, hey, here's the parts of D&D that really bring me joy. And then be flexible. And then be the type of person who realizes that there are other expectations at the table and tries to draw those out of the other players and figure out what they enjoy and do that. And you will find your group starting to come together. You will find your expectations starting to align, and you'll find the game that you're playing becomes something that everybody enjoys a lot more.
Yeah.
Again, these are opinions, and
Right.
we're passionate
Sure.
about these opinions, but
Yeah.
I do want to clarify that,
All right. Now, since we are fully winging it, Jack, I want you to now jump us onto a completely different topic. And go ahead and
Oh.
ask us a question now.
But I have one more thing I want to
Okay,
say.
go ahead and
Okay.
finish yours. We're just
Yeah.
improving, guys. So.
Like, you
Yeah,
gotta keep it short, okay?
It's great. Yeah, it's short. I think one other thing I'm going to say is all three of us are very social people.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
love psychology. We love understanding why people do the things that they do. We love
all
reading
did theater
people.
in college. Like,
Yeah, technically we all
Yeah,
did theater
we
in
did.
college, but
that's how we met.
yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
So obviously when we're saying like, oh yeah, set your expectations and then read the room and understand their expectations and adjust accordingly, that's not necessarily a skill everyone's going to have.
Yeah.
And we
Good
recognize that there are a lot of different types of players. There are a lot of different types of people. Some of you might be like, yeah, I don't really like talking. I'm kind of shy. I'm not super like aware, or I don't like. There are a lot of different types of players, and I want to say it's okay to be a different type of player. You absolutely can. Um, I think you can still voice your expectations, and you might not necessarily be able to read everyone else's and try to control the table and move everybody in a similar direction. That is a difficult task.
Mhm.
But I think you can still do a part of any communication you have, even if it's private communication, maybe not at the table, but like you can voice
Even if it's
those
through the
things.
friend that you feel more comfortable with that knows the DM better.
Right. That's a
Yeah.
great point. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the other thing that I was going to say, this is don't consider this a challenge. Consider this this could be worth trying. It could
Mhm.
be fun. The D&D table is an awesome place to experiment with not being who you normally are.
Mhm.
It is a fun place to try being a character, even who you are. Like I could walk in and pretend to be this like boisterous person, whether I am or not. And that could be a very scary thing. I'm just saying, I'm just like, it is a unique social circumstance where people expect you. There is an expectation that everybody is performing and pretending to be something different. So that expectation is already out there. So no one's going to call you fake for acting differently than you normally do. The
Mhm.
facade is already kind of down for you to try new things, to
I think
act a little differently.
I want to specifically say too, for if we have any younger audience here, um, psychologically, and I'm not at all talking down to you, you are developing right now, and you are
Mhm.
developing a personality. And D&D can be a really cool way to figure out who you want to be and to try some of those new,
Mhm.
personalities. And for older people, this may be a cool way to a catalyst for change in you, to see things in yourself that you're like, man, I know for me, when I went to college, I was pretty enclosed in myself and did not talk much in high school. And I was like, I want to be. I literally changed my name day one of college, and I was like, Jack is going to be louder and more outgoing and more boisterous. And I kind of burnt myself out. And partly through D&D, I was like, I'm a little of both. I can be outgoing and fun. I also really enjoy being alone and reading and playing video games and being silent and meditating, and like that's okay too. Both those are a part of me. I am both Jack and my alter self. I'm not going to share my actual name. That's weird. Anyway, moving on. So you asked Elijah. You asked me to come up with another question,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All right. So new question.
Hmm?
What has been the hardest thing for you to learn or grow in D&D?
Ooh.
I feel like Josiah might have the most answer. I think before this, he was even saying, "I think I've grown the most as a player in D&D." And
Yeah. I think probably the biggest thing was treating it like changing the reason why I was playing and what it is. I think when I first started, it was all a game. I was playing it like this is a game. I am playing with dice. This is a role-playing game. I have powers and abilities. I'm trying to accomplish things. We are killing monsters. That is what I am doing. And then it was like, oh, you create a character and you create your own goals. So I was like, oh, okay. So it's like a free form game where I set how to win the game. So I was like, oh, okay. So I'll set my goals, and then as a group, we'll sort of complete my goals, maybe. And so I like try to figure that out. And the like first campaign that I played in college, I played with Jack DMing, and I played a character who like I was like, oh, okay, I built this character. It's fun. I like know like what I want. And then we built, and then it was like, okay, here's the plot. Here, like we like started the campaign, and I'm with a group of players, and he's like, okay, here's what we're doing. We're setting off we're gonna go. We're like, this character came to us and said, I'll pay you guys all this money if you go and find this lost thing and report back to me, and that'll like the whoever finds it becomes king, and it'll like there's this big thing, and I'll like pay you guys and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, my character like wants to rule and doesn't trust people, so I'm not gonna do that. And so I was like, no, that's okay. And the rest of the party was like, we're gonna go do that. And I was like, I'll do something else. And we were like, well, okay, I guess you can stay here. We're gonna go to this other town. And I was like, okay, I'll just wait for the next guy to come into the tavern and offer.
This was the first time I had ever played D&D and ever DM'd. I just want you to know that.
So
I watched so many Matthew Colville videos preparing me for this moment, and I still wasn't prepared.
Oh yeah.
I was like, my biggest problem was I was like, the campaign wants to do something that I don't believe my character would do that. So what do I do? Because I'm trying to meet this goal, because this is a game. I'm trying to win the game. I'm trying to beat the game, and in order to beat the game, I have to accomplish my goals. That's how you do it. And everybody else wants to go this way, and that doesn't work for me. So I'm like, but this is also a party. Everybody's going that way. I don't even know these people. I was given no backstory. We didn't build together. So I don't know any of these guys. I'm just a loner. I'm in town. I'm just a random guy. And, I'm a thief. So I'm secretive, and I don't talk to people. And I'm fast. I'm freakishly fast. So I'm going to run through. I'm a tabaxi. I'm going to run everywhere. I'm going to steal everything, and I'm going to accomplish my goals. And I was like, I know my character, and I don't trust people. And it's like, well, you kind of have to do some of those things if we're going to go anywhere, we're going to play anything. So we played this out for weeks, several sessions.
Like weird personal sessions in the middle of our game. Like I didn't split it up. I remember at one point, they were all in a cart with the person who had hired them, traveling to this next city. Josiah's character, was in a cart with the bartender he had met at the tavern that I had to turn into an NPC, Dane the bartender. And they were also traveling in that direction so that they would be close to each other when stuff happened. Oh, man. Sorry, I was wild stories.
I'm just going to follow him from a distance.
So to bring this back in, how did you grow from that experience? That was what I asked originally.
Yeah, well, I think you asked what was the hardest thing to do?
Yeah, or to learn, or something along that line.
I had to learn pretty quickly that there are some social contracts that you are signing when you play D&D. It is not just a game. It is a cooperative experience. You are working together with other people. You are like doing these things together. You are following some of the plot hooks that are laid out in front of you. And if you're not doing that, you're at least agreeing with what the party has decided to do, whether that's follow the plot hooks or not. You kind of have to work together at least a little bit. It's like if you went to an escape room and then refused to talk to any of the other people in your escape room, and you just did this one thing in the corner, and then you didn't share any of your results with them when you finished. You went over and did a different thing that somebody else has already done because you're like, no, I got to do it I have to do the whole thing. It's like, well, then you should have come to the escape room by yourself. This is a group effort. You are
Yeah.
not accomplishing task. This is not how this is supposed to work. This is unhelpful. And so like it took me some time to realize, oh, this is a collaborative storytelling thing. I like this. I like playing this game. But for me, it became less of a game and more of an experience that I was doing with other people. And it was a lot of fun to build a story, to interact with other players, to fight monsters together, to figure out how I fight monsters. But I started thinking of it more like mini games with really long story cutscenes in between. So it was like we have a combat mini game, and then we have like I have to do all of these things to get there, and then a combat mini game, and then you have all of these people, and then a puzzle mini game, and then you need to go and talk to this guy, and you're trying to solve these puzzles, and you're trying to find all the information from the different people. Very interesting experience. Totally changed the way that I thought about D&D, and I think that changed over time as I eventually started to understand the game, figure out how everything worked. I think part of it too, like even as I think back to that first campaign where I was playing that Tabaxi, I also like wasn't super engaged with the table because I didn't know D&D super well.
Yeah.
So the whole time I'm on my laptop, like searching up, trying to like learn D&D mechanics. And then it's like, what do you guys want to do? And I'm like, look up for the table because I realized, oh, we've been talking for the last 5 minutes. My character wants to go steal something, which I can use this mechanic that I just found.
Yeah. I remember.
And so that, yeah.
As a new DM, I was like, that can't be right. He can't do an extra D6 on every attack as a rogue. This is broken. This is so unbalanced. Anyway, we learn. We live and we learn.
Yeah.
Elijah, what was the hardest thing for you to learn in D&D?
There's been a lot, and like I've been playing D&D now since like pretty much middle school. So, I now have a master's degree and I am in
D&D?
the workforce. Not in D&D, no.
Pretty close. Put
I have
about as many hours in.
I have a dungeon master's degree.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
That's great.
You just give yourself one of those. It's all made up anyway. So
all the points don't matter.
Man, I think one of the hardest things for me to learn, and I learned it actually really early, and then I had to relearn it again after college, was just that like your desire to play D&D doesn't necessarily match everyone else's. And that seems like, well, duh, obviously not everyone likes to play, like everyone wants to play a different amount. And it's like, yes, but when I was a kid, I loved this game. Like my brother is 3 years older than me. So he is like in high school, and he goes, so my friends and I are like playing this game and I think you would enjoy it. And then he's like, don't tell mom, but it's D&D and I'm afraid that they'll think that it's satanic. And just so you know, if you tell a 12 or 13-year-old that, they're going to be like, oh, we're going to play D&D. This is the greatest thing ever, And so, and I'm like expecting this to be like some really dark, like scary thing that I'm like going to do. And it's like not telling mom. And we broke out a 12-pack of Mountain Dew. And they're like, all right, here's a character sheet. And I played my beloved 4th edition the first time I ever played D&D. And I thought that it was the greatest thing ever. I got to experience so many of these awesome things. And I was the youngest kid at the table. And so there were times that, thankfully, my DM kind of took care of me and was like, yeah, you want to do something right now, so you can go off and steal this. Like, you're a ranger and, it's fine. But I could have played D&D 8 hours a night, every single night. And we met once a week. And sometimes when we met, it was like, you guys want to play Magic tonight? Because I'm not feeling D&D. And my heart would just break. And as I kind of grew up and started hanging out with them a little bit less and joining new groups and whatnot, I really found out that like I have yet to meet someone that loves D&D as much as I do. I think that Jack and Josiah are pretty close. But like I live for this game sometimes. Like there are times that it is all that I think about, and I can't wait for the next session. And even the times when I'm like, no, I don't think that I need to play D&D right now. I'm okay. Like I'm still thinking about it in some capacity. I'm still world building. I'm still, grabbing something and like that would be a really cool NPC later. And as I've grown up and like found, oh, I work 40 hours a week. I cannot squeeze in an extra 3 campaigns into my life right now. That I think that has been the hardest thing for me to learn of like, no, I am 25 years old and I can play D&D about a quarter as much as I did when I was 19 and 20. Because I'm in a different stage of life, and I will probably be in a different stage of life 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think that it's important to keep in mind, like, I will always love D&D, but there is a place where, man, I'm not gonna have all the time in the world to play it, and there are times that the people that I'm playing with don't care about this as much, and so like to not get upset or angry when it's like, look, we're playing D&D, like this is D&D time, and if you're not going to be locked in and playing D&D, because when I was in college, like that was I would have I did not play in the campaign that Jack and Josiah are talking about. I didn't come to college for another year, and so
Yeah.
That was freshman year. Oh gosh.
yeah. But when but I would have been upset with Josiah if it in early college. I would have been like, dude, we're playing D&D. Like, I don't know why you're over here on your laptop. Like, do that on your own time. This is and I was, again, not gonna cuss for Jack's sake, but I was a little bit of a donkey.
They toxic
And
DMs.
it just was. And I also thankfully have grown out of that. And it's like, no, like people get distracted, things, life exists, life happens. And so, yeah, it is. I think that's been one of the hardest things that I have to learn. I was not taking a dig at either of you when I said I haven't found anyone that loves D&D as much as me, because I know one of you is going to hop on that. But yeah, I'll wrap.
I will say, I think it might be closer than you think.
I think it's really close between you two. I know that I am not in the run.
I think about D&D
I said
just a
one
little
of
too
you,
much.
not both of you.
I love D&D.
I was going to say, you might think
not
about it
the
more
same
than me
level.
because you're awake more than me.
You do have more hours in the day.
A win is a win.
I think I do want to answer this question for myself too, partly because of how similar it is for you between me and you, Elijah. I had to learn to let go of my purism. That's a terrible word, elitism, however we want to say that.
Puritanism
for D&D.
Puritanity.
No.
I was a little obsessed for a long time with building a group of D&D players that cared about this game as much as I did, were willing to put in as much time as I could. And the funny part is, Elijah is the only other person I have found to be willing to put that time in. No offense, Josiah. But Josiah is close, and that's why he plays with us.
In college, I put in a lot more hours than I do now.
In college, you definitely matched our level of intensity.
We played nightly 4 hours.
We put in like 8-hour sessions.
We didn't go to sleep because I was tired.
No.
That is completely fair.
We played
we
a
honestly,
lot of D&D.
Again, for people younger than us, because I'm sure there will be some listening to this, for people younger than us, it was unhealthy Like it
Oh,
made
yeah.
us struggle in our jobs, in our not as much in our schoolwork. We were all pretty good students.
School doesn't matter. We had good grades.
Like
we had good professors that were like,
we had good
it's
professors.
fine.
We did have good professors.
And also this was during COVID too. You got to realize
That's
like
true.
that
is
was
true.
also a
Dumb.
big part of like you have nothing else to do outside of school and work and play
Yeah.
D&D.
Be an RA and be a student mentor and be a growth group leader and, run a volleyball team and be in performances. I don't know what you're talking about. We've packed our schedules.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely, it was interesting, but the hardest thing I had to learn, and I will admit I am learning this currently, and yeah, was that like I can have fun playing D&D with people who don't care about this game. And I can make it an easier experience and a little less gatekeepy by taking on the work. I've learned the mechanics. I've put hours and hours and hours into this game. Like I can do the legwork so that other people can play this and it be an easier and smoother experience for them. And like that's fun. And not only that, I can start branching out into other TTRPGs that might be better suited to them. And I'll be honest, because she's sitting right next to me right now. My wife is a big reason that I'm like, I want to learn how to make this a fun game that she can enjoy. And that, I don't know. So that was hard for me to learn and to let go of that purism and to be like, oh, you have to care a ton about D&D or you're not a real D&D fan and I don't want to play with you because you're going to ruin my game and how seriously I take it. And to be like, this can be silly. This can be fun. And that's D&D too.
Yeah.
Even when I have the attention span of a fruit fly and I'm only really here for the woodland creatures.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I would like to point out
guest
that
on our podcast in our improv video is actually phenomenal.
That's so good.
A guest appearance from my wife.
I would like to point out that the whole reason that we started our campaign was because the people in our other campaign weren't taking D&D seriously.
It's true. It is 100% true.
Yeah. That's
all
true.
Right.
I don't
going
know
to
how I
ask
feel about that.
a question.
Yes, please do.
I know that we have taken up most of the time, so I'm going to try to keep this one to be a shorter answer. But I'm going to ask this. What is your favorite character that you have played? And I want you to give me the moment that they became your favorite character.
Oh, and you want us to do this quickly?
Yes, come on.
Just a quick, like, you can just tell us a little bit about the character.
Okay.
Tell us a moment that it became your favorite character. And for me, I will answer this first to give you guys time to kind of think of this, because I know it is the first character I ever played. 4th edition, my love. It is the Eladrin, Tristan, who... the moment he became my favorite character is I got a magic item that was like a ball of metal that could turn into anything that I wanted it to be. And I did a lot of archery. And so I turned it into an arrow and I shot it and it came back to my hand. And I was like, this is the greatest game that has ever existed. And when that moment happened, that it like snapped back to my hand and the DM described that, I was like, there's no cooler character on the planet. And I was young, and so like it obviously is very impressionable. But that to me was my favorite character that I've ever played. And part of the reason for that is also that I haven't really campaigned since then. So that also helps. But I definitely think that having a character that you play for a long time helps. And I know you guys both have done a couple of campaigns, so I will let you have at it, whoever's ready.
I think I can go next. So mine, it really is a tie, and I have to tell 2 short stories here.
Great. I knew
The
it was going to
first
be a tie.
was
I know the
it
two.
just has to
It
be.
has to
I
be the two.
understand. I understand. I
Well,
thought you might
there's
pick
a
one, but I-
possibility for a fisherman, but I don't think so.
No.
That was funny.
Oh, that's
Um,
crazy.
Okay, my first one, and I'll tell them in chronological order, is Cecil. He was a young boy, which typically doesn't work well in D&D, but the group we were playing with, it really worked well. And I ended up kind of being the Grogu to somebody else's Mandalorian. And thankfully, he was a more experienced player. This was the first time I'd ever played D&D.
Love
Crazy
that, man.
how we seem to make some of our favorite characters on the first go. Maybe we should return to some of the, I think part of it is
I cannot
experiencing the
relate.
world for the first time.
Cannot relate.
Oh man. So
that's great.
Cecil, he was a bard, and I had homebrewed a race because of course I had. And he was a coatl. And it was just so fun playing him. And I specifically remember at the very end of the campaign, coatls have telepathic abilities, and Elijah as a DM had been very gracious with homebrewing a lot of things so I could do this. And we were fighting, and all of these people were fighting around us. Quaddles also can shapeshift. I was probably doing way too much, but I turned into a lion, and we were all being attacked, and I killed this guard. And I remember on the next turn, I was like, Cecil's a kid, and he just killed this guard. And I was like, yeah, I turned back into my human form, and I vomit on the floor. And there was this place where, like, my Mandalorian he was playing a samurai, and he was going to town on everybody around me and trying to fight his way across the room to me. And I remember being like, I want the people fighting in this room to understand what death is really like, and how awful it is, and what I've just done, and how ashamed I feel. And I asked the DM, can I project my telepathy into other people's minds so they can feel what I'm feeling? And he, of course, said, make a check. I rolled high enough, it was cool.
You rolled a natural 20 for clarity's sake. And I was
did?
like,
That's
yes.
insane.
You rolled a natural 20, and that was at a time when I was a DM, and I was just like, well, if it's a nat 20, it works. So I don't believe that anymore. So just so you know.
It was one of the more creative and one of the more intense moments, and it led to me realizing, like, the versatility. Like, I'd never experienced a game that could do that. No video game, no storytelling, no choose your own adventure. You can't be in a choose your own adventure and be like, can they understand the emotion that my character is feeling right now? Can I project that onto other? It's like, no, that's, that would have to be chosen by somebody else for that to be, the conclusion to a story. And in this case, I got to create that along with these other people. And it was an emotionally intense moment, but also a really cool one. And it led to the campaign kind of wrapping up in a really cool way. So that was one. And I remember going, I don't know if I can, like, top that. That was an incredible story. We then played another campaign. This was the longest running one. We've mentioned this a couple of times, the steampunk one. And I played Kyrus in it. And Kyrus was it was an out of game experience where he became one of my favorite characters ever. I took the Enneagram test, which is a personality test, as Kyrus. And it tells you how you, like, flex into different things of, like, oh, this is what you act like when you're unhealthy. This is what you act like when you're healthy. And it was accurate to how I'd been playing Kyrus. And there was this moment where I'm like, Kyrus is a real person, and you can't convince me otherwise. And the crazy thing is, like, the personality was so different from my own. It's not like, oh, I was just playing myself and, like, whatever. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, like he is emotionally, like, real. The way that he plays, the way that he behaves is consistent with himself. And there was just, I don't know, that character specifically, when I was playing him through some really hard things, and I was going through hard things in my life, and I was seeing him just get the gumption to be like, okay, look, yes, it sucks, but I got to do something. And having this moment in my own life where it's like, look, Jack, it sucks, but Kira's did something, you can do something too. And like stuff like that, like those are the moments that like take you into another world and teach you something that just you don't experience outside of this game. All right, Josiah, I'll pass it on to you.
Jeez. Okay. Well, there's no other option for me other than Fearless Lightfoot, my character from the steampunk campaign as well. Or should I say the Hope campaign? I guess
The Hope
that's a better qualifier for everybody.
It's called Tethamathia. And that's
from the Tethamathia campaign.
Yeah, that's what we've always called it. I don't know why we need it. We don't need it. Actually, Tethamathia is ancient common for
Sorry. My bad. Sorry, I meant when I was playing Fearless Lightfoot, the Lord of Vitality and Strength and with
Restoration.
Oh my goodness!
They
have extremely long titles at this point. We've been playing for a while.
we have these. Yeah, it's terrible. Okay, it's great. It is very hard for me to pick my favorite moments or when I knew this character was my favorite character. Partially because my memory is absolutely garbage. I can't remember anything that has happened ever. Especially when it comes to like the way that I felt emotionally. So that like makes it super difficult because like I maybe remember some like I could tell you like the facts of things that happened, but the way that I felt is like a totally other thing. So I don't remember any of it. But I think I know. Oh, man, there's so many things here, but it's a huge toss up between a bunch of them. I think in this campaign, I wrote many letters to and from the like girl of my dreams in this campaign, and we like exchanged letters back and forth, and we had several like very intimate like conversations throughout this game, and like there's just a couple moments that like the one moment that I felt like was my favorite of creation and where I felt the most like in tune with the character I've talked about before. It was this moment of like, hey, Josiah, can you like tell me about one instance when you were close to this character? And I like recalled a history and basically made up this story about a time when I like was consoled by this character and like just dug into the character and who he was, why he was doing the things that he was doing, and just like got to build out this rich emotional history and like flesh out the reasons behind the character. It made me feel so connected to who the character was, why they were doing the things they were doing, and where they and what their goals were in the future. I felt very connected to the character in that moment. Hard to say that was my favorite moment for the character because I genuinely had like my character literally changed alignment like later than that point. So like I was not fully that character at that time, but like it carried into it. And then the other time that I'm like distinctly remembering is when we set out. We had a wish spell. We had a scroll of wish, and we wanted to change the world. And so we set out, did all of this like studying and research, and like mapped out this like very fine-tuned specific way that we were going to like build out this magical new discovery that was going to like revolutionize everything and change the world for the better and put our nation on the map and like this whole thing. And I distinctly remember like the care for the world and like wanting everything to flow in a very specific way was like very intentional and very motivating. And like I had to like write it out word for word and time it so that I could get it out in 6 seconds, because that was the way that like it
That's
was
the casting time. It's one action, so it's
Oh,
got to be
man.
done in 6 seconds.
It was invigorating. It was really fast, and it was very fun. Possibly one of my favorite moments throughout that entire campaign. And there are so many others, but
he practiced that wish like 30 or 40 times with a timer.
dude,
And like,
yeah,
I legitimately, I was sitting, as the DM of the campaign, like I was enjoying the process, and I was like, I can actually see like his character is like figuring out how to put all of this into the wish as much as possible, and he got it in under 6 seconds.
Yep.
Which is like just a really big thing for me as a DM
And
to
if
kind
he
of
had
protect
messed up
from
any words or stuff like that, like it would have been, you know, like
mess
there was
up
this
any
place
words.
where Fearless in the game was freaking out, and Josiah as the player was freaking out because it was a
Yeah.
test of both of them.
It like I had huge risk, and like I'm sure that's something we're going to talk about in the future. But when you're playing these characters that have been long time built, because at this point we had been playing these characters for like a year and a half at this
Year and a
point.
half,
I
for
mean,
sure.
we were deep into this
Yeah.
campaign. I mean, we started as level 3 or level 1,
Level 1.
and we were up to
Level
level 12 at this point. Like, I mean,
More than that, I think.
maybe it was.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
not.
we
At least
left Strahd
13.
at 12. I'm pretty sure it was quickly after that. Anyways, like we played like, if this went wrong, this was like the end. This was dangerous for a character that I had built out for so long. And like there was high risk and reward for both my player and me, because this was risky game wise. And so like it was a real moment, and it was very, very invigorating and very fun.
Yeah. I think another one too I'd have to just say real quick was when we've talked about it before, but when you cut Kyrus's arm off, I've never felt more like the character than in that moment.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Elijah.
Yeah.
Wait, you started.
I started.
He started.
That's right. Your first
Unfortunately,
character.
that
Grenade.
That is.
I was going to say we're going to need to wrap up
which
here.
means,
oh man,
thank you for joining us for Tales Improvised about the table.
Nice.
As we obviously we don't claim to have all the answers, but you know, when we don't know what the question is that's coming, it's a whole lot more fun for us. We hope that this has been at least some form of entertainment for you. I have certainly enjoyed myself. And hope to see you in the next episode.
Bye.